Welcome back, baseball fans, to the 1971-74 Carryover League card set analysis of the 1971 available cards. We are in the third week of this, and we're going to wrap up the teams that are made the playoffs last year, drafting 25 to 32. Take a look at the guys they're putting on waivers, and then take a look at who their keepers currently are, and see if we have some matches from this card box, or have to determine that they'll be in a future card box. We're going to begin the night with the 25th team in the draft, which is a surprising Cleveland Indians team. What makes them so surprising is they had a losing record, believe it or not, 25-26, because they made the playoffs after Detroit collapsed in their division, and then even after doing that, they also collapsed. So it wasn't a good year for the North. Unfortunately, Cleveland, though they won a playoff series, they have to draft 25th with a losing record. Putting guys on waivers: Larry Brown, utility player, against lefties, all the positions, power against lefties. Might get into the league with that card. Then Steve Hargan had a great 1970, but then had some hard times. He got injured, missed a year. This is an awful performance here, you see. Has a nice year in 74, though, and that card might be selected, coming back into baseball in the year of 74. Let's take a look at their keepers now. And they have 4 selected. By the way, this little blue card you've been seeing in this is actually the 71 draft. All the Cleveland players drafted to them, plus I have their defenses captured here, so that I can always carry them into the carryover league. So the 4 keepers: Ray Fosse had a brilliant 70, follows it up with a nice 71 as well. 276, 12 homer, and see what his arm is. Actually, I might be able to check what his arm is by looking at this, assuming that Fosse is here. Yeah. Give him a -3 arm. My goodness. Wow. Well, that'll get him in the league, besides the fact that he's outstanding. Oakland's going to start calling, making the phone calls for him, and Cleveland should just hold on to him, of course. Eddie Leone, second and short. Actually, a little bit better. Plus, he's a 2, rangy 2 now. Because of that 2 defense and what, a 260 hitter, this card might get in the league. Pinson 70 is no longer in the league, but he's still a 3 with a -1 arm in center field. Hits righties fine. Lefties he's starting to go down a little bit, but still a nice player here. You know, a full season, and was with Cleveland still. And the 4th guy, of course, is Frank Robinson. So now the big trade from Baltimore is, now you got to move on, and this is the 71 Oriole performance that they played out. Took them to the 71 series, then they traded them to the Dodgers, I believe. Cleveland will most likely pick this card up because of all the homers against righties. And he's still a 3 in the outfield. So that is the Cleveland. Looking pretty good, really. Hard to project this division, though. Next up on the clock at 26, the surprising Houston Astros. They got really hot in the second half of the season, ran it all the way back to the National League Western title. They beat Atlanta in the playoffs, but then, of course, they would lose to the Reds in the divisional round. Joe Morgan faced off against the Cincinnati Reds. The guys they put on waivers: Tom McCraw. What you don't know is that he's got an outstanding 1974 card. Out of nowhere, too, I might add. After basically a decade of hitting around 250 or below, with little power, he has a really nice 1974 hitting close to 300. That card will be taken. This is a honorable mention card, I guess you can say. Jim Merritt, of course, the Reds didn't want him. The Astros took him for a year. Now the Astros are saying we don't want him. 111 with a 4.37 ERA, but again, he's left-handed. You stick him in the bullpen. Can he get some lefties out? Sorta. He could come into a bullpen, probably more so than in a rotation. You don't want the righties to face him. You don't have to. And their 4 keepers. Well, this one is pretty much mandatory. If you don't take this Joe Morgan, the Reds are going to demand they get him. So it'll be his last year in Houston. You see, 256, 13 home runs, 88 walks. The Astros are like, I don't know if he'll ever hit 300. I don't know if he'll ever get 100 walks again. I don't know if he'll ever be a Gold Glove second baseman or anything like that. Yeah, something like that. Just didn't work out. What a great player. So he'll play one more year with this card in Houston. The other 3 keepers are Dave Duncan was acquired in a trade, and this is a heck of a card here. He never actually was an Astro. He was an A, and would have been a very important A. Boy, if Oakland had this 71 card on their roster, it would help them get that dynasty going. So get him on the phone, see if Oakland wants to give you a king's ransom for him. This is an excellent catcher, full-time starting catcher right here. You already have Johnny Edwards on your team. So this is a trade chip if you don't keep him. Dennis Mankey had a brilliant 70. On base machine, all the infield positions. Similar here, averages down slightly to 270. 246 actually. Just a single homer. He's the 2 at first base, which is you'd prefer his 2-ness to be someplace else, but that's what it is. So, and the toy cannon. And actually, this is not what you want out of Jim Wynn. He is much better in future years before he gets dealt to the Dodgers. That's a 203 year. I think he's got one more good year in Houston. I want to say is 72. So we know Morgan and certainly Duncan would make the cut for the Astros. All right, next up at 27, the winner of the American League East, the Boston Red Sox. They've won it in the last few years. Baltimore won the World Series, 2 years ago, and then Boston's won the American League East the last 2 years, as the Orioles have been kind of meh. They waive Howie Reed, acquired in the carousel, a righty reliever who is just okay. Yeah. And Les Kane, a lefty, starter 6. Actually, you know what? This Les Kane, 434, but I guess that's a lot of homer. Well, no, not really. That's not really that bad a card, folks. I know there's walks there, a homer there, 1 of 3 double, triple single, and a 14 there. It's not that bad. I think this looks like it'd be play under area, like a 354 maybe. Someone's going to take Les Kane, and he's going to be in the league, I predict. That's not bad at all, particularly for a lefty, who are coveted. Your 4 keepers. Tommy Harper, they made the big trade to get him. They took advantage of that last Milwaukee year with 31 homers. Now he's got Boston. No, he's still got a Milwaukee year here in 71. Actually, I think his Milwaukee year in 70 is better than anything he would do in Boston. Still the ace stealer in the 17. Infield and outfield, but he's 2 in the outfield. Nice batting average against righties here, not so much against lefties. Full season, you can see. Not sure which Harper they'll take. Versatility might be the most important thing for him because he could play second, third in the outfield, and they can give the Mike Andrews, the Rico Petrocellis, the John Kennedys, the Rick Millers, all those guys can give him a day off. Speaking of Petrocelli, here he is. 3 years in a row, his card will be different. We saw a 69 card, a very slight step down in 70, a bigger step down here in 71. Still going to hit, what, 17 homers? 28. How did I miss that? Oh, all the plate appearances, yeah. Full season with 28 home runs. 251. Yeah. Gotta hope you make that, though, don't you? The 1 to 4, you hate to miss that a lot. Still a 2. This will probably be the Petrocelli card they take. Now, Yaz, unfortunately, obviously is going to have to take a step down from 70 when he was arguably the best player in the American League. Of course, the great defense. Great on base against righties. Now he's a C stealer. He was an A. You're going to have 4 cracks at Yaz in this timeline. This is a 254 with 106 walks. So there needs to be more analysis to figure out which of the Yaz's you take. 71, 2, 3, or 4. Ted Abernathy, a nice reliever who was with the Cubs and the Royals, I believe. Here's a Royal performance. Excellent performance. This is what Boston needs. Their bullpen was pretty bad last year. So Abernathy, acquired in an offseason trade, will certainly help this Boston bullpen. So I think Petrocelli and Abernathy might have their better years versus Harper and Yaz. All right. Next up, the 28th team. The winner of the wild card team in the National League West, as Houston called them, the Dodgers, got knocked out by the Mets in the playoffs. They acquired Julian Javier in a trade for Ted Sizemore, only to release or put him on waivers because they're going to prefer Davey Lopes to be their second baseman. Billy Grabarkowitz's brilliant 1970 card is no more, but the 71 card, the batting average is going to be awful. But what a fun card this is. Look at the walks in all the columns, doubles and walks, and good defense and versatility. Probably 213 hitter, 225 hitter. But look at the walks to at-bats there. 19 walks. So that's going to make this over a 360 on base, close to 370 on base. This card gets into the league. Of course, the Dodgers aren't going to need him to play third base because I think Ron Say will probably make his debut this year. There are 4 keepers. Messersmith. And this is where you got to dial in and make sure you get the best of their starting pitchers so they can dominate. This could be the best Messersmith with a 2.99 ERA. Don't like the walk-strikeout ratio. Doesn't give up a lot of home runs. It's a pretty good card. Osteen, he's getting up there in age, but boy, that's a nice year here. 351 and 71. I think he's got a better year in 72 even. Mickelson was the righty setup guy who actually was better against lefties. Now it's flipped. Now he's better against righties, but he gives up a lot of homers both sides. It's kind of a long man. I wouldn't put too high a stock in that. I mean, yeah, it'll get in the league, but you can get this guy in the 8th round of the draft. Tom Haller, a lefty catcher with power. He had 286 the year before. This is a surprisingly, you got to look at this closely here. Starts there, goes there, there, and I won a 12 there at 84%, and it's not, this was probably 265, 267. Yeah, what this means is that the Dodgers had a lot of good hitters in 1971 for a 267 batter to be what I would call the 9th best average on this team. The 2-2 card is the 9th batting average template, if you're wondering that. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then 13 in the American League. All right, the final 4 now. We begin with the Chicago White Sox, and what a year they put together. And they made some moves. Very good, and they stretched Oakland out nicely. And they made some moves to try and catch up to Oakland. Bobby Knoop, they let him go. And you know what? If nobody claims him, they can re-sign him. Look at the performance against lefties, and a 2. He'll get into the league just because of that. Mike Ryan, the arm is going to be important here. The bat is pretty bad. It's all going to come down to how good is defensively is he. And they have 4 keepers here. So Ken Henderson, now they got 4 shots of picking the right one here. And Henderson is one of these guys who is he's a good maxim. A baseball player is good once in every 4 years. That's why we have a carryover league, and Henderson's the poster child for that. He'll probably have just one really good year in this timeline, and it should be. So this is the baseline in year 1, and it's a pretty good baseline. You know, the homers, the switch hitting, full season, the great defense will really help that outfield defense. The White Sox were bad last year. He's only lacking a little bit against lefties, but and an ace stealer. This is excellent. An excellent start for Henderson. So this would be the floor, and a nice floor. And I believe 74 is Henderson's best year in his timeline. So this was the prize. They needed to get a quality reliever, and they got Jack Aker, who was a Yankee, with a 2.57 ERA. The White Sox had a lousy bullpen, and hopefully Aker will help out either closing or setting up. I think they have another choice of Aker besides this one, too. They have a couple good Jack Aker cards to consider. Aparicio. He was brilliant for the White Sox. Probably the team MVP over a period of years. Still a 2, A, B, still a C stealer. The batting average has really come down. I'd like to see him come back. Of course, you know, this would be a late round draft pick. They'll keep the protection of this guy. And this Tom Egan guy, last year he hit righties really well and was weak against lefties, but now look at the power. That's a lot of power for a catcher. 10 and 250, you know, that could be a full-time 20-homer catcher right there. The walks help a bad batting average. And the strikeouts are better than double plays. Interesting card for Tom Egan. And is he a White Sox? Yeah, he is. Prior to that, he was an Angel. All right, getting near the end. We have the runner-up of the National League and the world champ a year ago, your New York Mets. And boy, their story is pretty cool in this timeline. They made the big move to get Willie Mays. It worked during the regular season. They were magnificent. They were the best team in baseball until the Cincinnati Reds showed up in the National League Championship Series, and everything got knocked down. Bobby Heiss put on waivers, but he's still a 260 hitter, 254. Jim Bunning the Hall of Famer tried to get a ring with the Mets, didn't work out, and now he's probably going to be done. I doubt anybody will pick this card up, 548. Let's take a look at the Mets for keepers. So, if you made a big deal for Willie Mays, you better run this card back before 72 shows up, because he's still above average in 71. 72-3, it starts to fall, of course. And he's a 2-2 in center with a bazillion walks, and he's still an ace stealer. He's got to be, what, 39, 40 years old? So that Mays is in the league. Gary Gentry actually won a 1969 World Series game against Baltimore. Here look at that, that's excellent. To be the number 4 starter for the Mets, that's great. Grody, it's going to be about arm. Do you have a -2 or -3 arm in this timeline? 270. So this was the best hitting year, but if it doesn't correspond with the best arm, it might not be taken. Mets are going to go with arm here versus average. And Wayne Garrett, not this one. He's got better performances coming up. Not that one. But you got Willie Mays, possibly Gary Gentry. Next, we go to your World Series squads, beginning with the Oaktown A's. Your Oakland A's. Through a trade, they will waive Gil Gallardo. He could get a job, though. Yeah, all the infield positions, B, bunting and hitting and running. On base percentage, 216. I think he's got another good year, too. And they're going to waive, the Reds had no more use for Dick Bosman after he helped them win the World Series. He was a one-year rental, and they let him go. And Oakland took a look at him and said, I don't know if you can crack our rotation. We got Blue, Hunter, Holtzman, and I don't know if we need you to be the number 4 starter. So they put him on waivers. Somebody's going to pick him up, though. Worst case, an expansion team certainly will. The 4 Oakland keepers. So we go with Bando. Is this the year? 271. Now 72, his average really tumbles. This could be the Bando we take. Still got the great glove. He's a B hit and runner. Tons of walks. Plenty of power. Destroys lefties. Probably the one. Now Campaneris, after his disastrous defense in the World Series, you might want to find him as a 2. Whatever year he's a 2, take that year, because I think offensively it doesn't matter too much. He hit 22 homers in 1970. He'll never do that after that. That was a one-shot time. So now you really want defense here and base stealing ability, and this is just okay. Tennis. Yeah, I think this is the card. I know it's before the World Series years, but 70 and 71, the batting average is better than 72, 3, and 4. Oddly, I think he's only All-Star appearances in 75, I believe. Might have to double check that. I don't know what his arm's going to be. He hits lefties well, tons of walks over there. And they went out and got Orlando Cepeda in a trade. Oh my goodness, folks. Look at what he does against lefties. He destroys them. Absolutely kills the lefties there. So this is the card they'll probably take. I would go with Bando and Cepeda in that array. And we'll wrap it up tonight with your world champion, Cincinnati Reds, the Big Red Machine. Ty Klein, they would put him on waivers. Ty Klein had that at-bat 1970 World Series, that chopper at the plate where Bernie Carbo missed home plate and Elrod Hendricks didn't tag him out and the umpire didn't see what happened. That was the big famous controversy. Ty Klein, actually, well, if we, yeah. He could be in a platoon somehow in the outfield, but it's yeah, doubtful. Jim Stewart, probably he's pretty much done as well. And the 4 red keepers. Now in this timeline, or in the year of 71, they only have 3 of them here. Rose, Bench, and Perez. I forget who the 4th keeper is. I can check that. Now, Bench is the MVP of 72, so you don't want this one. Rose is the MVP in 73, so you may not want this one. That means take Tony Perez. He's still playing 3rd and 1st. 25 home runs. And they say they're not keeping Carbo. So who are they? Let me just double check here. Who are the Reds' 4th keeper? Let's see here. The Reds are going to keep Bench, Perez, Rose. Oh, Bobby Tolan. That's right. Bobby Tolan doesn't have a 1971 card, but he's got a good 72 card, I believe. So Bobby Tolan will be kept in a future year. So that'll wrap up the 1971 box for now. We'll still do some more analysis. When we resume next time, we'll most likely get into the 72 box. Thanks for checking this out. We'll see you next time.